Money doesn't disappear, it moves, and when it does, it leaves a story. Isabel's empire, oil, power, and laundering in Angola. She called herself a businesswoman. The world crowned her a billionaire. But in the shadows of Sonangol's towers and offshore banks, a different story was unfolding, one written in secrecy, sealed by contracts, and buried in code. This is Follow the Funds, and today we expose how Isabel dos Santos built one of Africa's most powerful empires and how it all unraveled. The Princess of Luanda. Born in 1973, Isabel dos Santos was no ordinary heiress. Her father, José Eduardo dos Santos, ruled Angola for nearly 4 decades. By her 30s, she controlled telecoms, diamonds, banking, supermarkets, and most critically, Angola's state oil company, Sonangol. On paper, she was a self-made success story. But behind the scenes, she was plugged into a state-engineered financial machine, the Luanda Leaks. It began with a leak. In late 2019, a Portuguese hacker handed over a trove of files to journalists at the platform to protect whistleblowers in Africa. The contents? Over 715,000 documents, internal emails, wire transfers, invoices, and confidential contracts. The ICIJ partnered with 37 media outlets, launching a massive global investigation. They called it the Luanda Leaks. The documents told a stunning story. Isabel, while serving as CEO of Sonangol, approved payments to her own Dubai-based consulting firms. In one transaction, $58 million moved to a shell company she secretly owned for management services never rendered. In another, $38 million vanished within days of her being fired. The leak showed how these transfers flowed through Western banks with minimal oversight. It was clear, Isabel was not just connected to the state, she was extracting from it. How the investigators caught her. The leaks weren't just raw data. They were a blueprint, one that journalists, forensic accountants, and legal teams spent months reconstructing. Investigators used metadata in emails to trace the digital fingerprints of Isabel's empire, timestamps, server IPs, and PDF versions. They matched offshore shell companies with apartment purchases in Lisbon, London, and Dubai. Shell firms with no staff or websites had moved hundreds of millions. Financial experts found bank transfers split into odd amounts, a classic red flag in money laundering. Legal teams in Portugal compared those transactions with land registry records, and the map came alive. What seemed like separate companies were all controlled by one person. The global crackdown. The fallout was swift. In Angola, courts froze her local assets and launched civil cases. Portugal froze multiple bank accounts and seized luxury condos in Lisbon. The Netherlands began investigating her stake in oil infrastructure firms. Interpol issued a red notice for her arrest in 2022. Isabel's response? She claimed political persecution. She stopped traveling. Her social media vanished. Her businesses collapsed. And then tragedy. Her husband, Sindica Dokolo, died suddenly in Dubai. By then, Isabel was already an international fugitive, her global empire splintering. The empire collapses. By 2023, over $1 billion in global assets had been frozen or seized. Once hailed as the face of African entrepreneurship, Isabel became a cautionary symbol of elite impunity. Angola's economy, deeply tied to oil and plagued by debt, faced mounting inflation and rising youth unemployment. What was sold as progress had been a pyramid. Lessons from the leaks. So what do we learn from Isabel's empire? Corruption is global. It doesn't need suitcases of cash, just contracts, complicit banks, and a web of shell companies. Gatekeepers matter. Western lawyers, auditors, and bankers didn't just look away. Some helped build the system. Whistleblowers can change everything. One leak, one drive, one act of truth cracked open a billion-dollar empire. Isabel dos Santos didn't rise alone. She was carried by a system of privilege, access, and silence. But silence doesn't last forever, because the money always leaves a trail if you know where to look. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.